Hello, everyone, and welcome to Decoding Devy. I am Brandon Hay, and you can find me at HeyB3 on Twitter. And we have made it. College football is back in 2 days. Saturday, this is called what they call week zero. There's a limited amount of games, but there are games that are back. So we're going to talk about that today. So again, we are sponsored by IDP guys, so please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's not only plenty of Devy content with this podcast, but we have plenty of NFL fantasy and regular NFL content on there, so make sure to subscribe. So let's go ahead and get into it. So these are the games that the slate that we have this week. We have Northwestern Nebraska, that's actually played in Dublin, Ireland. So that's probably going to be the best game, or the most of the two best teams together. Then we have Connecticut at Utah State, Wyoming at Illinois, Charlotte at Florida Atlantic, North Texas at UTEP, Nevada at New Mexico State, and Vanderbilt visiting Hawaii late at night. Looking at some of these numbers, I do like Nebraska to win this game. But the 13 points is kind of steep for me. I think Nebraska has some more talent. Northwestern really struggled last year, but they get running back Cam Porter back. Don't know how he'll look after the injury, but that just seems like a big spread to me. I would take the money line for Nebraska, but not the points. Mainly because Northwestern always plays teams pretty tough, and we don't really know what Nebraska is going to really look like. They've had a lot of turnover, have a new quarterback coming in. I think the offense is going to look better, but I'm unsure about that line. Then Connecticut, Utah State. I would take Utah State at the 27 points. They have a good offense coming back. They have their quarterback Bonner coming back. They should be able to score pretty easily, as Connecticut is still not a very good team. Next, Wyoming and Illinois. I would take Illinois the points, and I would probably take the under on this also with 44 points. Brett Bielema is at Illinois now. Pretty much same thing he tried to do at Arkansas and that he did at Wisconsin. Run the ball control, play good defense. So I think that's what they're going to do. So I don't think this is going to be a very high scoring game. So that's what I would pick for that. I actually have Florida Atlantic on the next game. I just think they're a better overall team. Charlotte has some good offensive pieces, but I don't think they'll be able to stop Florida Atlantic. So I would take that 7.5. North Texas and Utah, as you see, it's kind of just a pick'em game. Don't really have a major opinion on that one. The Nevada, New Mexico State. I would take Nevada to win, but not the points. I don't know what Nevada's going to look like with losing Carson Strong, Cole Turner, Romeo Dubs. They do return Tua at the running back, but which I think he'll be involved because I don't think the passing offense is going to be as high because I said the coaching staff left, a couple receivers left also to go to Colorado State. So I don't think that is going to necessarily be a high-flying offense this year. And then I wouldn't necessarily touch this Vanderbilt-Hawaii game. I just don't feel confident about any of those. So those are some of the picks betting-wise. I'll continue to do that each week. This, like I said, is a smaller slate. So, and another game that's on the slate weren't on these lines was Florida State playing Duquesne. Duquesne travels to Florida State. So let's go ahead and move on. And we're going to start doing some DFS lineups on DraftKings for, I'll give you what my lineup is. Not saying I'm an expert, but just some of my suggestions. So this is what we have. If you don't play DraftKings for this, there's salary limits, and obviously this was kind of tough. Talk about Illinois running the ball. Chase Brown is, a sleeper and a very a player I really like. So last year he had 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns, and he only had 15 or more carries for those get 4 games last year. I think they're going to give him the ball more, and in this particular lineup with less players, I wanted to make sure I got someone that was going to get the ball a lot that will produce this first week. So that's why I was willing to pay the 7,900 on Chase Brown and Jordan Travis at Florida State. He won the starting job, and part of the reason I picked him is just his rushing ability. He had 530 rushing yards last year, 7 touchdowns, and in 5 of his last 7 games, he had 60 plus rushing yards. So just like in the NFL, you like that the quarterbacks that can run the ball because that gives you the added bonus. So that's a big reason why I was willing to pay for him. And then if we go ahead and move to the super flex, there were some other players that I really liked, like Austin Reed with Western Kentucky. Even though they lost their coach, they're still going to throw the ball a lot. But he was 9,000. That really limited everything else. So I went with Casey Thompson, who played at Texas last year, had his ups and downs, but he had 5 games of 19 or more points. I think he could do very well at Nebraska. They're going to try to open up that offense a little more. And then because of that with Nebraska, I tried to do a couple stats with Casey Thompson, with Marcus Washington, who is from Texas. So there's some familiarity there. And then Trey Palmer, who's from LSU and over 300 yards last year. And he's playing the slot. So I think that's going to be a big part of that. And then I picked Wilson from Florida State, a stack with Jordan Travis. He had 5 touchdowns last year, and 4 of those touchdowns came in the last few games when Travis really took over that starting role. And then Trayshawn Ward, I took him for FSU. He's kind of the next man up after Jayshon Corbin's is gone. He had over 500 rushing yards last year, and also added 22 catches, 167 receiving yards. So he's going to be involved in that. And lastly, I picked Ricky White, who is a transfer from Michigan State, who's going to UNLV. Camp reports are saying that he's uncoverable. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt because it's against the UNLV defense. But his freshman year at Michigan State, he had some success back in 2020. And one of the biggest things was he had almost 200 receiving yards and a touchdown against Michigan in that 2020 freshman year in the shortened COVID season. So that is the DFS lineup that I have for this week. So, we'll kind of keep track of the success, I have for, each week. And then let's talk about some Devy players to kind of look at. So for North Carolina, obviously Josh Downs, he had a very good year last year. Let's to continue that this year. He'll be the focal point. And North Carolina has named the starting quarterback Drake May, who's someone that was a true freshman last year. Spring game I really liked. But there is talk that Matt Brown says that Criswell, the other quarterback there, is going to get some time. So that'll be interesting. But Drake May is someone that a lot of people liked in Devy last year. He didn't get the start when Howell missed the game, but I think he has the more upside. So we'll see how him and Downs do in this game. And then, like I said, Chase Brown, I really like him as a Devy prospect, not a top-end one, but someone that still you need to keep your eye on because I think he has a lot of ability that could translate to NFL. And then I just put the North Carolina bats. There's DJ Jones that's supposed to be the starter, and then the 2 freshmen, Amari and Hampton, that I really like, and George Pettaway that a lot of people are liking to be in the more pass receiving role. So we've seen North Carolina has had a lot of production out of those backs, back to Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, and last year with Ty Chandler. So you kind of want to see which running backs kind of move up there. So that's why I listed all of those. And even though Jayshon Corbin did not get drafted from Florida State, he's on the Giants, and there's been some hype on him that he could contest for that backup role to Saquon Barkley. So Florida State's going to want to run the ball, especially with Jordan Travis. in some read options type things. So if he continues to stay as the number one running back, I want the running back that's going to get the most carries at Florida State, and to keep an eye on those. So if Trayshawn Ward is that person, then that's another thing to look out for. And then lastly, just a couple to keep an eye on. Gabe Ervin, running back out of Nebraska. He didn't have a great freshman season. There's a lot of running backs, at Nebraska. One that I didn't put on here that kind of look at he comes from JUCO. Anthony Grant. In the spring game, he looked very good. He looks like he's the slasher that can make big plays. So kind of look at Nebraska to see what running back really comes out of there, even though they're going to open up their offense more. And then also North Carolina needs another receiver opposite downs to be consistent. So right now in their depth chart, Gavin Blackwell, he was a true freshman last year, highly recruited, is supposed to get at other spots just so see if Drake May can spread the ball to both downs and him to, open up that offense more. So another thing we're going to look at through the year is on Prize Picks, some of the player props. I like to look at those. So I'll just give some recommendations on all of those. So let me go ahead and share that. Okay, so if you haven't been to Prize Picks, it's really good. You can kind of put together some props over under and then put some money in and kind of look at that. So based on these, I like the Austin Reed over 340 yards with Western Kentucky. They throw the ball a ton, as we saw with Bailey Zappi last year. So I like the over there. Let's see. I actually like the under for Jordan Travis against Duquesne. I just don't know if he's going to throw the ball enough to get over that 224-yard mark. And then also with the Casey Thompson, I wouldn't touch this one because I'm not totally sure, passing-wise what they're going to do there. So now let's look at rushing yards. Casey Thompson, 11.5 rushing yards. I'm going to do the over there. I think he hits that. As I mentioned, he is he had, I think, 4 or 5 games last year with over 30 around or over 30 rushing yards. So I think he would do the over there. Toa from Nevada, like I said, I'm doing the over on his rushing yards. See, Jordan Travis and Trayshawn Ward, I would like the over on both of those. Chase Brown, even though, I like the 101, I just don't know if we'll necessarily get there. So I would do the under there because they, if they get up, they might involve other running backs. To be honest, none of these receiving options I really love, especially this being, the first week and not really prolific pass offenses other than Josh Downs. I would do the over on his 82.5 receiving yards. And then let's see. There's also, you can do fantasy score, receiving touchdowns, pass interceptions, all of that. So let's look at fantasy score. I would take the Casey Thompson over 19.5. I think he's going to be very involved against Northwestern. I would also take the Austin Reed over 25. Like I said, I think he's going to pass the ball quite a bit. I like Jordan Travis this week, but not necessarily over that 23. So those are the only ones I feel comfortable with. And let's kind of look at pass touchdowns also. I will go with the over on the 2.5 pass touchdowns for Logan Bonner. I don't feel great about that one, but I think they're going to be able to pass the ball quite easily on UConn and score a couple touchdowns there. And last one is a good one, pass interceptions. There's only one, Ryan Helinski with Northwestern at 0.5. So that just means if he throws one interception, you get the over. So I think he will throw the one interception. So I would take the over on interceptions. And lastly, let's just kind of look at receptions. If there's anyone we really like. I didn't like the yardage, but the receptions I do like for Malachi Corley. I think he will be heavily involved in Western Kentucky's offense. So at 5.5, I'm going to take the over. See if there's anyone else we really like. Josh Downs at 7.5. I believe most games he had at least 7 receptions, so I don't love that against FAMU because I don't know how much he will play. So we'll continue to do this every week and kind of come back with it with all that information. So those are just some of the picks I have for this coming week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And this is a shorter one because obviously there's less games. Next week, we'll review the full slate before it happens, do some DFS, some betting, and give some updates on Devy performers. Just so excited for college football to be back. So until next week, I am Brandon Hay. You can find me at HeyB3. This is Decoding Devy. And just make sure you catch out some of that football on Saturday.